call the meeting to order. Everyone rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Oh, sorry, roll call, I promise. I'm sorry. Sorry, you stand just a minute. Okay, Board Member Evans. Present. Board Member Manis. Here. Board Member Sorrell is not here. Board Member Smith is here. Board Member Spencer.
Here.
Now please stand for the
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And now we'll have a moment of silence. Adoption of the agenda. I make a motion that we approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any nays? Motion carries. Presentations. District solo and ensemble assessment.
Do them both together. Do them both together.
What are we doing together?
Well, it's,
You go ahead, because I don't know what's going on.
it's got middle school and high school together, so let's go. I know I have one student, so.
I play.
Hello. The band program every year goes to district solos and ensembles, and that's where the students play either a solo or in a group, like 2, 3, or 4. And they get a assessment, basically a rating of distinguished proficient. And so we took 21 students. This is not a have to, it's a if you want to. 21 students to solos and ensembles, and they practice. Well, we started kind of before Christmas. So they practiced after school, but we took 21 students. This year it was held at Montgomery County High School. And every one of them made either a distinguished or a proficient.
Awesome.
Yeah. Very proud of them. Our high school student that we only had one this year was Anna Bartley, and she made a proficient on her alto sax solo. Then in the middle school, we had Callie Wells and Kaylee Trusty, and I think Kaylee's here somewhere. There she is. And they made a proficient flute duet. So yay, Kaylee. And we also had Hannah Patrick and Haley Montgomery, 6th grade clarinet duet. In 7th grade, I see Diana is here. She made a distinguished, isn't it Diana? A distinguished clarinet solo. And we had a trio, Hannah Harris, Malia Eversole, and Brianna May. If you'll stand up. They made a proficient for Woodwind Trio. And then our other 7th graders, we also have another trio, JoJo Evans, Mikey Wright, and Cole Rose. And I think JoJo is here. Hey. And they had a proficient brass trio. Other 7th graders, we had Britt Wells and Isaac Tackett had a brass duet. They made a distinguished. Cole Rose made a proficient trumpet solo. And I think that was all the 7th grade. Then the 8th grade, Tara Boland and Brittany Johnson both made distinguished on their trumpet solos. And they played a duet and made a distinguished. And then Tara Boland and Alex Williamson played an alto sax trumpet duet and made a distinguished. Emma Henry had a distinguished clarinet solo. And Trey Banks had a proficient oboe solo. And then we had, for 8th grade, a trio, Tori Ellman, Emma Henry, and Trey Banks, and they had a proficient woodwind trio. So we had a very good day. The kids were very well behaved, and it was nice and easy, and they did their thing and came home. It was good. So, thank you.
Can we have the students that are here come forward, and that way we can get a photograph, please? So if you were recognized during this activity, Ms. Copeland, please come forward and we'll take a photograph. And Mr. Lawson, I'll ask you to assist. As well as Ms. Franklin if she's in the Y'all probably must scoot in a little bit more and act like y'all care a little bit about it.
Come on, small JoJo, you're the only guy with all these girls. There you go. Good job, guys.
Thank you, students, and thank you, Mrs. Copeland, and we're still working on changing your mind.
Yes. Future problem-solving team for Governor's Cup Regional Competition.
Thank you. I believe Mr. Horner was out today. I don't know if it's working or not. Mr. Plaza was out today. Competition for fourth place for future problem-solving high school at the Regional Governor's Cup. Actually, it's third place.
Yeah, it's third place.
Third place. Got bumped up.
Okay.
That would be John Sane, Hannah Barkley, or back, Laura Baker, Katie Moore, and Madison back. So, any of those students make it tonight? All right, give them a hand. First and first round.
That's boss, there's a difference.
Yeah. All right, I'll get up here when I'm supposed to speak, actually. Actually, no, it's quite all right, we're good. Actually, it was my fourth place team from Botts Elementary School that placed fourth FPS, and I think I've only got one of those students up here. Gunnar Brown, can you come up? I swear, I mean, you're gonna become best friends at these board meetings. You're always. Gunnar Brown, I think you were the only gentleman with three other ladies, Katie Hall, Patricia Jones, and Sarah Blankenship. Were the students that went up early, competed during the day, and placed fourth overall. So very proud of my students.
Turn around and get a photo, please.
I don't know if he wants me in.
Gunnar, while they're taking the photo, I really want to let you know that we really appreciate this. The future problem-solving team, both groups that are here, that is a very prestigious event. Takes a lot of ability to be able to think, and we really appreciate that. And I think that event will probably be beneficial to you in the future. So, congratulations. We got one more
Oh, I'm sorry.
recognition.
I'm sorry. Yes, Nicole.
We have 3 students that just showed up. And Cole Rose, who made his proficient and a proficient solo and a proficient trio. And Hannah and Haley, who made a distinguished clarinet.
Let's just do the next homework. Come on in the middle, we'll get a photo. And then you have to give a performance photo. Come on up, I'm just kidding, come on up. Just stand over here in the middle, and Mrs. Franklin and Mr. Lawson, and we'll wait for Ms. Copeland.
You go ahead. I try to get around you. You're the,
We're
you're
getting
my, you're the
closer.
real
We're getting
photographer.
A big congratulations, and we appreciate you coming.
Campbellsville University Excellence 2017.
Worked with Mrs. Brewer on recognizing our our teachers within the Menifee County School District. Ms. Brewer was in charge of this, and actually the staff members from the individual schools actually voted, and they have selected 3 teachers. I don't know if any of those staff members are in attendance tonight, but we would like to recognize Mrs. Mindy Camp of Menifee Elementary, Ms. Donna Bowman of Botts Elementary, and Mrs. Tracy Bean of Menifee High School. So, any of those folks here? We wish them the best of luck at the Campbellsville University program. Thank you, Ms. Brewer, for leading that.
Nominee delegate for the Commonwealth of Kentucky.
Menifee High
Menifee County High School and District would like to recognize an exemplary student tonight based on academic excellence. The student has been delegated to represent the Commonwealth of Kentucky at the Congress of Future Science and Technology Leaders this summer in Boston, Massachusetts. The Congress of Future Science and Technology Leaders is a highly selective national program that honors academically superior high school students dedicated to careers in science, technology, engineering, and math. This program has strict requirements of a 3.5 GPA in order to qualify. So to say the least, this is certainly an honor for this individual to be selected and recognized tonight. But at this time, we'd like to recognize Morgan Williamson for this prestigious award.
Or we could allow maybe for a 5-minute speech if you'd like.
I would like to recognize his family. That's
Sure, absolutely.
Please stand up.
Morgan, I just came from Boston back in the fall. I think you'll enjoy that trip, and will also be a good educational opportunity for you, so congratulations.
It will, absolutely. And I'd like to also, just another word for the parents. We appreciate you being here and being involved in your kids' lives and their education. I know you have Raven with you, who is, what grade is she in again? Sixth grade? Okay. So, and
Caitlin. She's not in school yet.
She's not in school yet, but we're anxious to get her in school as well. But we appreciate you coming out tonight. It's very important for your involvement in your kids' lives, and certainly in a partnership with us. We are so very proud of Morgan. Thank you for coming tonight.
District Tournament staff leaders. To again.
We had a great time during our district, and I hope that everyone here had an opportunity to come out and see some of the games because they were electric, especially our district games. It was well worth the price of admission, and our girls and our boys played very well. They represented this community and this school very, very well here at home and also away at other tournaments and other games for a season. It just ended very well. But tonight, we want to recognize our girls, especially for all their hard work. I know we got some of those student athletes here tonight, but we're just very, very proud of them. Personally, watching them progress throughout this year, home and away, this team got better and better as the year went on, and we're so very proud of them. Coach Rickard, he is at a soccer field tonight. Actually, he's assistant AD, so he's out at watching some practice or games out there. So I'd like to just bring these girls up, the ones that are here, and recognize them. I have two recognitions here. One is the Kentucky All-A Classic Region 16 runner-up girls basketball for 2016-17, and the other one is the district runner-up. We're so very, very proud of her. Come on up. That's Emma and Mara. So he is the coach.
Just want to mention a few things. This kind of a season for us was kind of one that, goes down in history. It's been many, many, many years since the team here had a 20-win season. And these girls accomplished that. We were runners-up in the Class A, didn't quite get the championship, lost in the championship game. But then we also, first time in 16 years, our girls have made it to the region. So we finished runners-up in the district. Close, hard-fought game. And just couldn't pull it out in the end. But these girls have given it their all. Some other things, these two girls here, along with Drew Evans, were on the all-district team. So, and we're glad that these two will be coming back next year. So we've got a solid foundation for years to come. We have kind of a great program right now because we've got younger girls, and that's one of the things we really appreciate about all of our coaches. They're kind of involved because they also have children, and we've got a program built so that there's parents working with their children when they're very, very young, building those fundamentals. So by the time they get to us in high school, they have a very good, solid foundation. And that kind of goes, feeds a common theme in education everywhere. they have a good foundation in the elementary school for reading, writing, those kinds of things. And it works the same for extracurricular activities. Those kinds of things they build on when they're young. By the time they get to us, then they can really have success and get the notoriety. And that's what we're proud about these two girls. Drew, again, she was on the all-district team. She's not able to make it here. She's actually, I think, watching the boys in the state. She actually was a member of the all-region tournament team as well. I think she finished 26 points in our first round district game. So, you know, we'd like to recognize her for that. And hopefully we can duplicate that success next season because we have many of these girls that will be returning on our team. So we'd like to recognize the two.
That bottom thing there.
Oh, yes. And our team, along with all of our fans, for the all-region, for the regional tournament, they won the Sportsmanship Award, which recognizes the team at the regional tournament that exhibits the best, you know, all-around sportsmanship, attitudes, you know, and behaviors kind of things. So it was nice, you know, hopefully we don't have to go every 16 years to get that kind of recognition, but it was nice, and it kind of lets you know, as coaches, when we go places, we don't have to worry a lot about our students doing stupid stuff, crazy stuff, misbehaving and getting in trouble. So our team exhibits that. That's one of the things we demand. So they're very good representative young ladies, and I can speak personally, and they represent our district well, and we're glad. I'm just glad to be a part of it. So thank you, ladies.
Whenever you hold long. That's probably one they do.
Now, ladies, you ladies are setting the bar very high now, so this is going to become an expectation that we receive all the trophies.
I think they went to 3 overtimes in district, is that right?
They're champions in my
It
heart.
was 2 overtimes.
Well, the sportsmanship award is wonderful. You know, that means more than a championship in my book, to be recognized as a good sportsman.
Also, just want to take a moment to recognize some folks who made especially our district a host this year, and they just did a tremendous job. They're not here this evening, but this being a culinary or hospitality room, we're pleased to do an outstanding job every night. It's just absolutely wonderful. And Mr. Sorrell and his FFA crew down in the concession stands, it's just positive responses and comments just on both of those areas in particular, as well as the whole hosting event. I got many positive comments and appreciations for how we hosted the district tournament here. So appreciate the board supporting that, certainly Mr. Spencer, but this community as well. So I just wanted to make sure that we recognize them, and especially Ms. McGuire, because her work didn't end at the districts, and also went on to the regionalship. She was the athletic director for all of that, so we appreciate her very much.
Thank you, Michelle.
And the Lady Cats. Then we're just going to cover, that was all? Okay. All right, reports. District values and beliefs. Our vision is We Are Menifee, where students become college and career ready. Our mission, empowering future generations to be productive and successful in a global economy through community collaboration, creative thinking, instructional rigor, and relevance in order to improve the quality of life for all. Treasurer's Report Municipality Sheet.
All right, this is going to be a rerun for Brenda. We spent about an hour going through all this and trying to get a little knowledge going on. But general fund, we're at 1.3 million. Now, I looked at this time last year, we were at 800,000 this time last year. So this is a great improvement from where we were last year, and we still expect to get some more property taxes. I went to the sheriff's office on March 7th, and they told me that the second nickel collections, we were already up to 80% collections. So I didn't expect that. So in a month and a half, we were at 80%, but regular property taxes are just now getting 80%, and they start in November. So No, we
That's odd, isn't it?
we've done pretty good. Fund 2, 147. District activity is 34,000. The capital outlay is a negative 16,000, and like I explained before, we're just waiting, our payments from the state come in at the beginning of the year and the end of the year, it's just an accounting thing. And then the building fund, negative 40,000. The construction fund has the 150,000 that's in there, left over from the roof projects. And the debt service has 233, which will be there to pay the bonding payments. And food service is in really good shape with 222,000.
Make a motion to approve the news balance sheet.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any nays? Motion carries. Monthly financial report.
All right, on your monthly financial report, if you look over to page 5, you can see our year-to-date totals on our general fund is total revenue is 5.3 million, and this time last year we were at 4.9. So we have received some more funds in, and we're at this time last year, so we are expecting more property taxes though. And then if you look over, it's usually page 9.
Ms. Bartley, speaking of property taxes, they want to share for. Oh, I'm sorry. I was looking through the, they're right, I'm sorry about that.
All right.
You can hand over now.
He's got something on his mind. All right, so if you look on page 9 and look at our contingency, I have made I've done some budget amendments this year. We've got some things going on. We need to purchase some new cameras for our buses. We have some other things that we're talking about doing. The other thing I had in that budget before, do you remember? Anyway, it was something it was probably maintenance. I think it was a maintenance thing that we needed to do. We have, Mr. Hacker let me know that we've got some buses that still have VCR tapes in them, and we
Can
need
you
to,
even buy those anymore?
well, that's the problem.
There's about 2 companies that we actually, that are on our kind of a bid list or whatever we do, that sell them now.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, I didn't even, but anyway, it is. So we've moved some money around to cover those. Now, we haven't spent as much. Our telephone bills are down, our electric bills are down, those kind of things are down, so. But I didn't reduce our actual expenditure line, I did reduce the contingency, which, that's why that's a little bit lower. Now, that is still 9%, so we're still in good shape. I still think we're gonna be in good shape for the end of the year.
I make a motion to approve the monthly financial report. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any nays? Motion carries. Thank you.
All right, as you know, everything we talked about on the balance sheet is in the top right column, and it's all reconciled back to your bank balance with no adjustments. Of course, on your journal side, you always have things that happen. We voided out prior year expenditures or prior year checks that haven't cleared in over 6 months. That was about $6,500, so that's increased our cash balance.
Did you have to reissue all of those, or no? So those are just,
Yeah.
okay.
So we have a balance of $2.1 million in our checking account. And we're actually earning quite a bit of interest. We got a second interest payment because they recalculated our interest wrong, so that was pretty cool.
I always like that.
Yeah, it was nice.
I make a motion to approve the bank reconciliation. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any nays? Motion carries. Cash flow statement.
All right, if you look at your cash flow statement, everything up to February 2017 of the current year, items, receipts, expenditures, and then the March through June, of course, next year. Like I've always told you, I reduced the bonds so that you don't think you have more money than what you got. So I'm still projecting right around $900,000 in the general fund on this, and we did reduce payroll expenditures a little bit.
but the overtime has been an issue I'm working on right now. But on my detailed cash flow, I've got us right around 1.2 at the end of the year.
This is conservative.
This is conservative.
Very conservative.
This will make me happy.
What, 900,000?
Yeah, if it's more, that's great, but 900 is fine, you know, this end of the year for, yes. End of the year with a lot less than that.
We're working really hard on our, we have a needs assessment meeting, a budget meeting with staff on next Tuesday, 9:30. Where they're gonna give us some input on what they need for next year so that we can really allocate a lot closer, which works out great for us. And I'm working pretty hard on pay scales and meeting with other people at the district office that can give me some number projections to see where we're gonna be. We have received a couple of grant allocations that have been a little disturbing, but I'm hoping they're just preliminary. And they said if they would, that was the worst case scenario.
Some of our federal funding is starting to come back in. Like today, we got a thing notification that we lost $28,000 for Title II. So the original allocation was 79, now we're down to 51. And several other districts, I was talking about a neighboring district, their allocation was cut completely in half. So I think you're going to start seeing that more and more at the federal level. So even though the balance does appear healthy, we still need to be very cautious.
Well, and last year I allocated as much as I could from personnel or from salaries into our federal funds. So what will happen is you'll have more and more of that money being used out of your general fund, which is going to have to be made up by that. But we have worked really hard and been very conservative in our spending, and so we do have kind of a rainy day fund.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any nays? Motion carries. Assessment coordinator report.
So this tells you just how quickly things are changing in assessment. It's not on your
Yeah, we didn't have to touch that.
laptop because it literally
Changed
just
this week,
changes
changed
every
yesterday.
day.
And it's still changing.
And this is tentative also. And if you don't want these, I'm doing another training tomorrow, so just leave them on your seat and I'll pick them up. I serve on CAPE. It's a DAC advisory kind of board. And Rhonda Sims, who's the Associate Commissioner for Assessment and Accountability, spoke with her. And she shared the town hall PowerPoint that her and Commissioner Pruitt are using as they go throughout the state. And I took, it was like a 14-slide document, and I changed it and just made it as small as I could. And what I wanted to just kind of point out first is they're doing these town hall meetings again, and the one closest to us is Monday, April 17th in Rowan County. And it's kind of like voting for president. If you're not happy, don't complain if you didn't share your opinion. So if you have an opinion about what you'd like to see in assessment and accountability, that's the place to go to be heard. And they really did try to use the state's comments that they heard in 2016 as they created this new assessment. And basically the big ideas that they heard were that children need to be at the heart of the system, they needed to be well-rounded, and that there are going to be tested and non-tested areas. And this is something that we see a lot, that if it's not a tested area, people tend to not put as much value on it. But we've got to remember that everything's important, that there's reasons we have arts and humanities and Spanish and different classes, even if they're not in that big A accountability. So that was mentioned. Imagine this, an emphasis on teaching and an emphasis on collaboration instead of competition. And where that comes from is, you know how the first thing after we get those test scores is everybody, I mean, within moments of them coming out, we all get an email that says where the ranking is. And because your ranking is dependent on your index, which is dependent on your percentile, they're, from what we understand, I didn't know this because in this area we tend to share. In Northern Kentucky, people won't even share information, like on grants and things, because they're like, no, you could get your percentile higher than ours. That's just crazy. We don't operate that way, so. But that is definitely something that people see. Then you see the proposed highlights. Opportunity and access is another big part of it, that children, even like in our area, have access to some of the things that kids in bigger areas have. The second page, transition readiness is something we've already had, but they're including more multiple measures in this. And for example, what has been said by industry over and over is they would like kids to graduate high school who will come to work on a regular basis. So imagine that attendance might become one of the things that gets reported. Growth is
That would
still,
have a huge effect on
It-
their
you know, I
ability to
mean-
do well on the test and they're not paying all the time.
well,
So
yeah.
I can see that being
I
a
would think so
reasonable
too.
request.
And we talk about that with formative assessment as well, that, you know, just being at school and doing well on the daily tasks tends to make a difference on the summative exam. And we see it on you all see it every month when Tim shares athlete versus regular population. Those kids have to come to school to play, and they have better support. Growth will still be measured at the elementary and middle. It's been taken out of the high school because that's more about benchmarking. Some people still want to see growth in there, but at the high school, but it's just really right now at the elementary and middle. And you're going to hear things like catch up, keep up, and move up. Growth is going to be on the individual student. So let's just say in third grade, Johnny takes a test, fourth grade and fifth grade. They will build a trajectory for how Johnny should be progressing. And is he catching up to where his peers are? Is he keeping up with them or moving up past? So that's really kind of a more unique individual profile for kids versus what we do now, which is how well is the child staying with an entire group of kids. Achievement gap closure will also still be important. And then the next steps to the system, a new system are on here. Most likely, some key pieces will be in place next year, like reading and math will most likely stay the same. Science, they hope to have an operational test because we're finishing up some field testing this week in science. And it's looking like the high school will keep EOCs, but maybe more teacher-created EOCs. So there's a lot of things there. The next page to me is really one of the most important, and so I made it a big slide. And if you are really into this, you can go out onto the website and go to KBE and Google town hall presentation. And this slide is actually interactive. It lets you see some mock-up data, and kind of like now, you know how when you get on the school report card, you can drill down on information? Well, in this, you'll be able to drill down on the dashboard into individual information. Like, you can double-click on school and get more information. And you can see all the different areas: achievement gap, proficiency, growth, transition readiness, and opportunity and access. The idea of a dashboard is that we're not going to have one overall score, but schools are going to be measured on how well they do on all 5 of these areas with an overall rating based on those 5 areas. So I just thought that was pretty cool. The next is, again, just if you want more information, it's just 2 pages. Again, just I took it straight from KBE's website. Just a real quick snapshot if you want more information about those 5 areas I talked about. And then I had a synopsis of Senate Bill 1, but I decided that is so nebulous that I'm not even, if you're interested in that, literally just Google Senate Bill 1, because I'm afraid I'm going to say something that will get taken back to a teacher, that they don't have to do something and then it doesn't pass or something like that could happen. And because it's listed as an emergency act, which means some of the things in it would take effect immediately. But if that's something that interests you, literally just Google Senate Bill 1. It has lots of interesting things in it. And our science field test went well. People were really worried that the kids, the way the test booklet is set up, instead of having just like multiple choice questions, then open response, it has a story, like a scenario. And then the kids answer 6 multiple choice questions about that phenomenon, and then do a couple extended response, and they're not really true extended response. It may be just like filling in a couple blanks, but then it's really more interactive for the kids, and they have to follow along. And they did all their work right in the booklet, and they seem to be really engaged with the kids who did it. We did it at 4th, 7th, and 11th grade. We were really pleased with it. It's going to cause the science standards to get looked at more closely. Any questions?
And I would encourage board members, of course, this should be final just around March the 30th to 31st. I think the 30th is the last day of the session. So I would encourage you to go on and look at those town hall presentations and start becoming familiar with those 5 areas. Because I think you're going to be in the line of hearing novice, apprentice, distinguished, or proficient, distinguished. And this dashboard is a lot different than what you may be accustomed to. So
It'll change things.
I would encourage you to take a look at that. That way, if folks come up and ask you about it, and Ms. Hacker's, she's actually one of the panel on the for accountability and on state level. So we're very fortunate to be able to have her services for this. So she's.
What time is it? I know, I wrote that time, 6:30 to 8.
6:30 to 8 at Moorhead at the Rowland Arts and Performing Arts Center.
I just put the ones that were close to us. I put the Louisville one just in case you were in that area.
And I have expectations that the vast majority of the principals and district staff will be attending the one at Moorhead.
I'm going to one in Frankfurt just because of the committee I serve on, and our comments get taken for us. But 6:30, it's on that little PowerPoint. It's really tiny, 6:30 to 8. I'm trying to get, I still wanted it to be in color, but I really wanted that dashboard to be in color, so I made it all very tiny. Here's what I finally had to get in my head about this new system. Commissioner Pruitt said he wanted us to have something that you could explain in the checkout line. Okay, he had me. Well, this is not a simple system. It is 88 pages, actually. I thought about printing, but there's just ridiculous. So here's what I finally had to come up with in my mind. That yes, I'm going to be able to take that one page and explain it in the checkout line. But you all are going to need a deeper level. You're going to need to know behind those gauges what is causing the things to happen. Like, Steve and Tamlin and I looked at CCR data the other day. We really looked at what was the scores behind, what caused us to get that great jump. You know, so you all will be asked to dig in a level that we won't ask parents to dig at. Teachers will be asked to dig at an even deeper level. So I guess I'm trying to take a different approach. Kind of like if I went to see Julia, I just want her to tell me what I needed to take to get better. I think that's kind of, we're going to need to be the people who are down in the trenches with it and maybe keep it at a different level for parents. That's the way I'm going to do it, because it is very complex. And it's going to take us a while to learn it. And I'm trying not to get it all in my head yet because it's still in this kind of, yeah, and so I hate that part. That's the only bad part about being on statewide committees. You have to throw out stuff all the time, so.
And probably with Senate Bill 1 and some of the things, it's probably ACT is being reconsidered. I know ACT was a vendor, and you correct me if I'm wrong, but was a vendor for end of the course assessments. ACT went out of the business of giving into the course assessment.
So what's happened there is, what it's looking like is that we will go to what was originally hoped with those EOCs. What people didn't like about the EOCs that ACT had was it was a very narrow focus of our standards. It didn't cover all of our standards. It was a just off-the-shelf test. It was based on ACT standards. Well, and we only gave 4 of them, and there's 12 of them. So what Dr. Pruitt is hoping is that just like our reading and math test, we will create teacher-created EOC using the standards, kind of like we did with the science field test, and maybe after you finish so many standards in biology, you'll take an EOC in the biology part of it. You'll take a chemistry portion of ELC. Whatever, which would make more sense than just having 4 ELCs. And then the other is, ACT was in legislation. Like, we were required by law to give the ACT. So there was no wiggle room. We just, whatever ACT told us to do, what we did. Well, now it's not in legislation. It just says that we have to give, I think in this one, 2 college ready tests. And so that opens it up for ACT and SAT. And they're talking about giving that test in 9th grade and 11th grade, which would add something. Because what we're finding, I keep going, is that 9th graders aren't connecting with us. They're not seeing the connection between why they need to do well and what it's going to do for them later. I always say, we don't want you laying on the couch eating burritos. We want you working. And it's hard to tell that to a 9th grader where there's nothing that ties them to it. They're still too far away from being able to take vocational classes or college classes. But everybody puts something on that ACT or if it becomes the SAT. And that's what we're hoping, that we can help them connect more with those scores and what they need.
A couple additional items that I think are getting ready to be a bill passed, and I think it's already ready for the governor's signature. Before you graduate high school, you must pass the citizenship exam, and you have to get a 60 on that. And then I think there's also a cursive writing to put that back in the curriculum. So
That makes me mad, but let's not even know that.
but anyway, those are items that could be part of it. Thank you.
Attendance report and transportation report.
Been out several days, sorry to miss some more fast. Still feeling the effects of it.
I think everybody's had a little touch of that going on.
We're glad to have you back in the capacity you did.
We got a few extra copies if anyone wants one. Okay, as Ms. Hacker just alluded to a little while ago, the first couple of pages, this is front and back. I'm not a tree maker, but I do like to save. First page kind of shows you the attendance percentage up to this point in the school year. For the high school athletes, it's 95.28%. And then the next page, the back of that, shows you the the rest of the student body. These are the the students who did not participate in any kind of sporting activity. So, and those students are 92.98%. So those who participate in extracurricular sports are over two percentage points higher than the rest of the other students. That's the good news for those athletes, because they have to be, of course, attending school and getting good grades before they're eligible to play. So those requirements in turn feed into our attendance goals that we have for the school and the district. After that, on the second page, or the third page in this case, there's some preliminary calculations using the third and fourth pages. Okay, yeah. The third and fourth pages was basically a comparison of our ADA or ADM at the beginning of the year, which is the number of students we have total, and then compared to what we have now, which is the next page. So 8/15, which is actually about 3 days after school started, generally don't like to use the first day because sometimes kids don't come on the first couple days of school. And then also we have sometimes students who will come and enroll, and then their parents will move them to another district because they believe it will work out better for their work or whatever. So if you can see on the bottom of page 4, I did a comparison of what we had at the beginning of school and then what we have as of last Friday. And how those numbers of total students that we've had have changed for each of the schools. And you can see that it's not good. And I really don't like being the harbinger of bad news, but probably keep repeating this over and over, but it is what it is. So, as if that number of students has dropped down, it kind of feeds into the last thing that I'll talk about.
Those numbers should be flipped there, is that correct?
That's what I was
On
thinking.
three, after 310, it should be
Definitely
290 to
should be.
304, and then
I was thinking,
486
it
to
looks like we
504.
gained 36. Yeah. Because if like 1,067, that's the beginning, right?
I think we started with 504 students at the beginning.
Yeah,
of the year,
that's-
now we're
Yeah,
down
I
to
should be
should, just
flipped.
as of those 2 dates should be flipped down. That's what I thought.
Actually, what should happen is, I should have put 810 in the first column, because then
Yeah.
it's up correct.
Yeah,
So in
So I
essence,
just
we
like-
lost 36 students.
yeah.
Yes.
Okay. And that means the next page is going to be not very positive news.
Exactly. The last page, which actually is where your funding is going to be, and that's your ADA. Kind of explain this, I've highlighted what the ADA numbers are. However, kindergarten only gets funded for, each kindergartner, they're tiny, so they only count on has a half a kid. And that's the stupidest thing ever, but it is what it is. So, for the district total, we've got 989.76 students. That's the number of students that we have on a daily basis on average. However, we only get to count half the kindergartners. So we go to subtract half the kindergarten class, which works out to about 40.26 students. So that gives us an adjusted ADA, which is what the AADA stands for, as 949.5 students. Last year, our ADA that we got funded on for the school year, which actually is what we, because everything's a year behind. So this year, we got funded on 962.095 students. Next year, at this current rate, we'll be funded on 949.5 students, which is 12 and a half students less. And we used to do an approximation there of students, each one gives you about $5,000. It's actually a little bit more because we're an at-risk district. So it works out to somewhere around $63,000. And that's funding that will be reduced. So again, I hate to be the bringer of bad news, but it's not looking good.
And the thing with that, Mr. Ackers, our attendance percentage
Oh,
is
yes, our
about the
attendance is
same as
pretty
what
good.
it was
Yeah,
last year.
attendance percentage is actually not the same as it was last year. And even with, we started off really well this year, but it seems like the sickness has kind of, like last year, we had a couple of really bad months. This year, it's been all year long. I mean, from about October up until we have still quite a few students missing today because of sickness. And I can identify personally because I've been sick myself several times this year. This last one I had, I was out for well over a week, so.
I think we hit 94 today, is that correct?
Yes, 94.1 today.
Moving forward.
Well, normally we have some snow days that kind of cut that a little bit, and we haven't had that this year, so. But even if we got our attendance percentage up, we're not gonna rebound as much of this 63,000.
No. If we rebound, by the end of the year, 1 or 2 students, that'll help a little bit, but
Yeah, it's not,
it's not going to put us back where we were. So,
unless we get it.
unless, there's a chance, we may get some refugee students that might help us a little bit, but we don't know. Y'all have any questions about any of this? Okay, I'll put on my transportation director hat now. Right now, we have 2 buses that are at Georgetown we're working on. They're very similar problems. They're electronic computer control modules. So the bus is actually, when you step on the gas, it's not doing anything. Okay? So it's not running properly. We actually have one bus that's not great, but we still have it on a route until we get the parts in to fix it. we have no spares right now. We do have our 2 new buses that are supposed to be in the next 3 weeks, so that will help, but it really doesn't help right now. So right now, we're kind of crossing our fingers. There's been at least one route where we had the double route, where a bus is running the route and then had to go back to school to pick up the next group. So,
About how long will they say the ones will be done in Georgetown? Did they give you a time frame?
because we're not the only one that's getting them. Because
I'm sure.
they place in the order to the factory makes them, and then they have to install the options that we put on them.
No.
And those are actually done at Georgetown. So they have to get the bus with the
Base model or whatever, and
Yeah.
then the stuff.
specifications that we've ordered, and then they go, and then they put all the options on it, so.
And it takes us some time to do the paperwork. get
Yes,
them on
we
the road.
actually have about a week it takes us to get the stuff done, and then also our mechanic has to do a inspection of that bus before it's put on the road, so. Well, the bus is actually, for a school bus, you can't run it on a temporary tag like you do your car. You have to get a license plate for it as well, so. We hope to have a couple buses, new ones in about 3 weeks. Right now, we're just trying to get by. You have any questions about that?
What are the age of the buses that you have being fixed? Are they some newer ones, or are they like at the end of their life?
Well, here's the thing.
Just curious.
The ones,
Yeah, I'm just curious.
the ones that are actually at Georgetown right now are kind of our middle of the range.
Same ones that
I'm just
are
curious if
Just
maybe it was
went
something
off
we would
warranty,
need.
The leads.
The what?
Just went off warranty.
Yes.
Recent, I
Of
mean,
course.
recently.
Those particular, there was about 2 years there where the international buses, there were, 3 years ago, Jefferson County actually filed suit against the bus company because they had, Jefferson County is a much, much larger district. And they had like 100 of those buses, and they were having those issues with them. So they brought suit against the company. And apparently, the company came in and fixed all of them for whatever it cost. So, but we have, 3, I think, in that range, and those are the ones we seem to be having the greatest issues with.